Okay, so today we're going to be taking a look at a track that I wrote for my good friend James for ASTS Sound Design. And essentially they make lots of trailerized and hyper cinematic sounds, often quite on the edge of destruction. And yeah, I just wrote a track and I decided to take the approach which is to resample a few of the sounds as well, just so that some of the sounds weren't quite as noticeable. Some of the hits that I've used are exactly the same. The rises are all the same pretty much. I've just added some reverb. But I thought today what we can do is take a little bit of a look at what I've done. Just the sound design, because if you want to listen to the whole track, then I'll link below their page and you can check out the whole track there, because this has other libraries in it as well, you know, like strings and stuff. So I just want to show you today the sound design behind that. And then at the end of the video, stick around, because we're going to take a little look at how I made them. And this will be more specific to Logic users, but I'm sure this is transferable to anything, because it's basically just using a sampler and it's taken a little bit more of a granular-esque approach. Yeah, so before we jump in, please like and subscribe. That's really helpful. Thank you again for everybody that watches my videos. The one that I recently uploaded, thank you so much for all of the support. It's so appreciated. And again, thank you to my patrons. If you want to become a Patreon of mine, then check the link below. I send out freebies every now and again. Yesterday I sent out a whole track that I'd basically sent the MIDI and the samples through, so that you can do whatever the hell you like with it and, you know, just learn. So let's get straight into it, shall we? We're just going to take a little bit of a listen, and you can see that here, ASTS here, I've just put that there because I started off with the hits. I always start off with hits, I don't know why. I'm just going to show you from marker 2 to the end. You can see it's in C minor. Let's go. So there you can see that they're mostly hits, and there's this ticking thing that isn't included in their samples, but I'll show you exactly how I did that. What I did was I took one of the samples and I chopped it up like 50 times. I put some very, very small fades on it, and then I exported them and then just dragged them straight into the sampler. But I'll show you a different way of doing it as well. And you can see at the end of this this project here, you can see this is me just mapping out. So I mapped everything out here, and then I just duplicated it to here. You know, talked about the sounds now, they're just fantastic. So let's just listen to these hits. Yeah, it's just really, really nice. If I just take this one off, this audio 26 as well, that's really, really good. The thing I like about this as well is there's just a range of different sounds that ASTS are giving us. So they're giving it, yeah, this really low wow sound, and then you've got this like almost super heavy distorted snare sound that's been pitched down a little bit. And the way I would approach hits all the time is actually layering them. So, you know, this is the same approach that we use when we're creating anything. You know, you see people saying, "Oh, the perfect snare sound. Oh, I had to use, you know, 15 different snares," and then you see it, and they're taking out all the bits they don't like in the EQ, and then they're adding all the stuff that they like and accentuating it. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. So if we just open the EQ up, I'm taking a bit of the top end off because I didn't really want all of the top end. This mid-range, about 500, it wasn't horrible, it was just that there was a lot of that in the other sample. So if we just take a little listen to this sound without it off, that's it normally. So after the EQ, you can hear that the low end is more accented and the high end is more accented, and it just sounds a little bit cleaner. If I really wanted to go into it, I could just add this here. And that just tightens it up, because when we take the sub end out, things just get a little bit neater. But I think I probably would have done that here anyway. Yeah. So that's my general approach to the hits. Some of the hits as well, if we go to the end, they are actually I'm using them as uplifters as well, so I've reversed it. There we go. And then here as well, we've got another uplifter. Yeah, so that's just adding width, and you know, that's what we want. We want the low end here, and then we want everything else kind of the spanning around that low end towards the outer edges of the universe, or this universe at least. Okay, now let's go on to another made sound. Now, a lot of these sounds that in their libraries are actually pitched sounds, so you can hear they have a note to them. So I found out what that note was. I added a load of verb, bounced it out, and then basically stuck it in a sampler. But that's what I did here. So I basically put it into Contact and then was able to play this pad. Okay, and that was just from taking one of their sounds, sticking it into a plugin that stretches things, Pulse Stretch X, I think, and then just adding a load of reverb. I think I used Valhalla Shimmer and about 6 other reverbs to do that, and just panned all of the reverbs and then just pulled it in. So yeah, that's a nice, easy, simple way to manipulate the sounds. And now finally, let's go on to these glitches. So if we take a listen to these. There we go. These glitches, they were, like I said, they were just straight into this sampler and it sounded lovely. But how did I make them? Well, we're going to get into that now. Okay, so we have this sample. I'm going to turn on the sound of this sample, but this is just one of the sounds that they've got from their Corrosive Touch. And there's just lots of character in there and texture. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to move it in here, and we're going to go on to Quick Sampler Optimized. We can put the start time at the bottom here. We can just bring a little tiny fade in, and then we could play it across the bottom. And that's fine. However, we can slice it. Now, it sounds a little bit more gated. Okay, so I'm going to go to the bottom now. This is the sound we've got. I'm going to make it shorter. Okay, so there's our sound. It's all mashed up. We can now go to the MIDI effects, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to arpeggiate. I will create a MIDI region. You can see there we've got all of our sounds. Let's just say these are the sounds that I want. Stretch them all to the end. Now we can say we want this at 16th notes. We just need to set the grid, create a rhythm. Okay, and press play. And we can vary it. Go up and down if you like. And just like that, you've got a nice rhythm. Now we might say that this is something that we want just to happen on the right hand side. So now just take this, we go in, move a few of these around, open up our arpeggiator again, change the rhythm, then we will put that in variation 1, just have it going down. This can be panned all the way to the right, and then we press play. Lovely. Create a track stack, okay, and we can even add effects to this. Le Petit Excite. Put the top end a bit more up on them. We'll filter it a bit. They're very clean samples, so they're easy to work with. And you might think, well, yeah, that's all well and good, Jeff, but we need some kind of delay and reverb. So let's go to Valhalla frequency echo. Great. And then we'll add just vintage verb over the top. And I love just to turn the mod rate up on this because it just sounds awesome. Now, if you're really clever, you can use a website that tells you exactly what the pre-delay should be for 120 BPM. I'm going to guess it's around about 60 something seconds. So it might be a little bit off. I'll put this back to about 1.4. That's about right. And the pre-delay is your friend because it's going to let that note come through that you've just resampled, but then give you all of the extra magic afterwards. So that's how I added just a really simple, short staccato kind of rhythmic character to that piece. Yeah, and my overall thoughts are that ASTS sounds are fantastic. Go and check them out. I'm not affiliated, but they did send me lots of their stuff to try out and to create that track for you. So big thank you for that. And yeah, see you later. See you in the next video.